Good morning and welcome to Eduscope. My name remains Dr. Hero Stephen Izu, and on this edition, we are going to be looking at Wisdom Nugget 16, the danger of religion, without sacrifice, as a continuation, on a series on Mahatma Gandhi's Seven Dangers to Human Virtue. And today we are going to look at the place, of religion in the African life. Now, the African, there is no doubt about it, is a very deeply religious person. The African, the Nigerian, places centrality, places primacy, on his religious beliefs, and on his religious and worship centers and religious leaders. Now, the African, want to be seen, as somebody who places a reverence, on issues that border on religiosity and, of course, indeed, spirituality. Now, this must have informed Professor John Mbiti's, assertion, that the African is a notoriously religious person, is a notoriously religious person or is notoriously religious. Now, but using the word notorious, side by side with a religion, appears to be a contradiction or a desecration, a kind of a sacrilege, because religion, holds a kind of sublime, a kind of pristine, significance, when we look at it from the point of view, of spiritual intercourse, with a divinity. Now bringing notoriety, side by side with a religion, it shows a kind of a negation, of the negation, negation of the significance of the primacy, of the supremacy, of the sublimity, of a religious and sanctity. So but Professor John Mbiti used, this assertion in this regard, to explain, how religion, has been used in Africa and in Nigeria as a smokescreen, as a camouflage, as a cover up, not as a transcendental, a kind of a sanctified tool for self-spiritual, improvement or societal, transformation, but as an instrument of deceit, as an instrument of deception, as an instrument of destruction, not as an instrument, of spiritual upliftment or an instrument of construction and so on and so forth. So he used this word notoriously religious, to explain, the contradiction in the African religious worship systems, and patterns. Now, Mahatma Gandhi is trying to make us understand this morning, that we cannot claim to be religious. We cannot claim to be religious. We cannot claim to be spiritual, when we do not want to engage in sacrifice. Now, this sacrifice is not the kind of sacrifice that is done in occultic, or cult groups or cult societies. No, whereby you have to go and bring somebody, kill somebody before you can appease, the gods and the goddesses or their object of worship. No, sacrifice it has to do, with this element of care, for one another. This being one's brother's keeper, being one's sister's keeper, being one's father's keeper, being one's mother's keeper, being one's children's keeper, being one's neighbors, keeper, being one's co-workers, keeper, and so on and so forth. Now, religion is better exemplified in our actions, in our inactions, in our reactions, in what we do rather than what we say. Now, you have somebody who is hungry and you are praying for the person, whereas you have the means, to give to the person to go and eat. You have the means to make the person to be fed, well fed, with food. Now, so there is no point of us claiming to be religious, when we don't want to be sacrificial. Now, this is not just to the members of worship centers, but also to the leaders of worship centers, the pastors, the prophets, the imams, the afars, everyone that has been called upon, to lead people in spiritual transcendence, spiritual, upliftment or development, must understand the fact that there must be this syndrome, this element of leadership by example in our worship. Now, Jesus Christ was somebody who led by example. He led by example, the example of sacrifice. the example of sacrifice. Now, as religious leaders, we must be sacrificial, not only calling our members to sacrifice, but we must also be sacrificial. We must be ready to sacrifice our comforts, be ready to sacrifice our convenience. Sometimes, for the good of people, those people who are passing through one form of tragedy, or tragic circumstance or the other. So we cannot claim, to be religious, to know God, when we're not doing the right thing. We must be ready to do the right thing. We must not be ready, to be people who want to, sacrifice, our brothers, or compromise on the altar of, trying to, please, ourselves. Our self-aggrandizement, our self-satisfaction must be weighed against the betterment of our brothers and sisters, our friends, our colleagues, our neighbors, and so on and so forth. If we're not ready to sacrifice, to make some, to share what we have, with others, to feel others' pain, then we're not ready to be religious. It is not enough to sympathize. One must be ready to empathize. Now, somebody has lost his job. Fine, you sympathize with the person, but don't just stop at the level of sympathy. But you must also show empathy. Empathy means you are also helping the person to come out, from that stranglehold. You are in a position to give jobs to people, and yet you are collecting money from people. What kind of religiosity is that? You are in a position to give admission to people who they are qualified, and yet you are collecting money, from them to give them admission. What kind of human being are you? Now you are in a position, to help people, and you are demanding maybe sex from them, demanding money from them, demanding all manner of filthy lucre, from them. What kind of human being are you? We must be ready to sacrifice. Because we are very deeply religious in Nigeria, deeply religious in Africa, and yet we have a lot of problems. Why do we have this kind of problems? Is it because religion or religious worship or spiritual worship does not pay? It pays. God is real. Now, however, the reality of God can only be defined, by the way, we conduct ourselves towards Him. We can bring about an intercourse between humanity and divinity when we are misbehaving. Sell our souls, to the devil, sell our consciences to the devil, and we don't have any feeling for anybody again. All we care about is I, myself, and me. This is a tragedy. It negates completely, the primacy of religion, in our lives. And this explains, what Mahatma Gandhi was trying to proclaim against the danger of religion without sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the sacrifices that we must make today is to not just to watch this clip, but to subscribe to this channel, to like the channel, to make your comments, to encourage the promotion of this channel. Share the video to people, and you'll be blessed. Thank you very much. I remain Dr. Rose.